Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing out there? We're going to have an interesting discussion today. Um, we're going to talk about Deborah, a Deborah in the Bible. Hello, Trish Goddess. Hello, hello. We're going to talk about a little bit about prophecy because I've posted about that here lately on TikTok, and I think a little bit on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to talk a little bit about prophecy, about a little bit about how spirit moves through someone when they're anointed. Hello, Sydney Thompson. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Still waiting for people to come in on my live stream on YouTube, my YouTube family. Hello, TikTok family. How's everyone doing? And I know a lot of people have been hearing me talk about prophecy here lately. Hello, Kay. I know a lot of people have been hearing me talk about prophecy here lately. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more because I think there is some misconceptions about spiritualists and how their life should look uh, based on everyone else's opinion. But I'm going to talk about, thank you, Kay. I'm going to talk about my experience with walking a spiritual life and have seen it in other people, especially when it comes to prophets. Now, I know a lot of people think there should be a status quo or a different class status, uh, higher echelon you should be in, or be rich or wealthy or very fortunate on the spiritual path. But prophecy, if you are a prophet, it doesn't work that way. Okay? Especially when you're working with your ancestors and your spirit needs to put you in places that they want you to be. And one thing I know about prophecy is prophecy comes, um, you have a variety of prophets from different walks of life. Not all of them are rich. Not all of them are wealthy. That's something they put prophets exactly where they need to be at that time, especially when it comes for speaking up for the poor, the needy, women, and children. They be among the privatized people. They look just like me and you, but they're mighty in spirit. And see, not all these prophets, that's why a lot of these prophets they were not recognized because again, people was looking at them for status quo and to be rich. But most prophets, they lived outside of society. They were what you would call what we call today some of uh the neurodivergence, the autistic people, the ADHD people. They were sort of like that. They noticed patterns. Again, these are very odd people. So they did not mesh with society really well. Prophets didn't. When you seen a prophecy because they were saying things that people were not ready to hear. Did nobody like the prophet? Let's get this straight now. Hello, Dimples. Hello, Winky. Hello, Mama. Okay. Uh, that no one liked the prophet. Let's get that right now because they were very peculiar people, and they weren't conformist. They were not conformists. But every word that proceeded out of their mouth was the truth. Why? Because the Most High was guiding them. The ancestors was guiding them. Hi, Berta. Okay, they were being guided. And so nobody could really go against the prophet or the prophetess because what proceeded out of their mouth, again, you have God using a mouth, you know, to bring truth. And a prophet is not going to say things that you like. They are not. And most of the time, nations were not ready to listen to it. That's why you got later they having to put things in allegory when they were. Hi, Olivia. They had to put things in allegory when they were uh, bringing prophecy to people because sometimes they were unalived. And you ask for the message, but then you want to unalive the messenger. So prophets had to be very, and then you don't want to do that job because you know how society is. You having to do something that the Most High is putting in you to say, the ancestors are putting in you to say, that nobody is ready to listen to or ready to accept that truth. Nobody likes the prophet. That's how you can always tell the prophet because nobody is liking the prophet. And again, they come from all walks of life. They don't have to be rich. They don't have to be fancy. They don't have to be popular. Matter of fact, they're probably not going to be none of those things. Hi, Constance. Hi, Olivia, Patty. They're probably not going to be any of those things that you expect the prophet to look like. I know. And one thing about it, when prophecy grabs you, and you know that this is uncomfortable for you, but for me, how I felt it was a real urgency to open my mouth. Like I felt like I was gonna explode if I didn't open my mouth. A urgency, what I want to say, a restlessness. The restlessness and the thought keep ruminating and ruminating and ruminating and ruminating until it come out. It keep building till it's time to come out. Uh, don't be wanting to say it. No people gonna be mad at me. But again, with the prophecy, it's like it's a something grips you. Okay, it's like something grips you, and it has to come out of your mouth. What you see has to come out of your mouth. Is it scary? Absolutely, it is scary, but it need to be said. Okay, nobody wants to be a prophet because don't nobody like us. Don't nobody like the prophet. Nobody wants to hear. Everybody wants love to hear what they want to hear. And I think one of the most right now, and reading about the women prophets in the Bible, the most inspiring one to me was Deborah. Some people call her Deborah. But her story, if you go back and read her story in Judges 4 and 5, she had a very it was very inspiring story. Hello, NDG DJX. Help to review our ancestors' worldwide reputation by imitating their commitment to truth. Teach our children to do the same. Speak truth always. Okay, thank you, Wale. Hi, Magic Man ATL. Hi, Sonya David. But when we look at Deborah and we look at her in Judges, I loved her. She was so inspired because the Israelites, these men were being, I'm say period, they were being oppressed um by the environment they were living in. Okay. And they did not want to fight. They did not want to speak up for themselves. They did not want to do any of that. They were afraid. But Deborah, you know, Deborah, she began to prophesy. She began to talk about their experiences. And she began to talk about how God was going to give them freedom and liberation. Such an inspiring story. And then when I think about America now, I think about we need a Deborah there. We need a Deborah needs to be in America. But she was so inspired, and she would go between these two cities, and she would go up under this palm tree and she would prophesy. She would prophesy about how they were going to be liberated. She would prophesy about freedom. She would prophesy and give them hope, to inspire them to want to stand up for themselves. This was a mighty woman. She just kept doing it. And at some point, they got ready to go to war with these people around them. And I'm telling you, she started coming up with military strategies. She was telling them when to go and when to attack. When God would tell her to stand up and move a certain way, that's when they were supposed to do certain things. She was very, very mighty. I don't think I've ever seen another prophet that did something like that uh in the Bible. And this is before Israelites even start having kings. So again, she was responsible for them gaining their independence and then establishing. They probably would have never thought about having a kingdom or a nation in that way had it not been for Deborah. Okay, very interesting story, and we talk about this in more depth over there on Patreon because I talked about this, and I think I talked about it here. I talked about it a little bit on TikTok, but she was mighty. She was mighty, and one of the first prophets I see that worked closely, you know, it seems just like a Haiti thing that happened. It's just like a Haiti thing that happened when Deborah began to prophesy. She began to stand up and she began to pour in liberation to the people and pour in who they really are. Very inspiring story. And this woman, she led them into battle. I mean, they were afraid. These men were afraid. And here you got this woman, and you see that in Haiti too. You see that in Haiti where you had these women in there with those machetes putting in that work just like with the men. Okay? You see that too. So again, you're seeing again when we look at the Bible, it's easy to see hoodoo in it just by seeing Deborah's story. And it's also good to understand too that prophecy, you know, you may be told that spiritual leaders should look a certain way. No, I'm telling you, the Most High got prophets in the jailhouse. They have prophets among the poor people. They have prophets among the rich people. There are always prophets everywhere. They have to put them everywhere. Anointed, put the anointed one where they need to be for that purpose and for to do the will of the Most High when it's time. Everybody can't do it because some people love being light. Okay, prophecy is among people who don't care about being liked. Okay, and they're in all walks of life. You have spiritualists in every walk of life. Contrary to how you think they should be rich, and you think they should be this, they should be that. Contrary to what you think, no, that is not how that work. You have to be able to reach people on their level. And who else would be able to do it except someone who was on that familiar walk of life? Okay, me, uh, I love to talk to people, look out for people, that are homeless. They can tell you a lot. A homeless person, or a houseless person, and what you think that person is really free because they're not conforming to society. I know you don't want to hear that. This is not a popular truth. They're not conforming to society. Okay. So again, there's prophets in all walks of life. It doesn't have to look like people are saying, you should be this, you should be that. But there are prophets in every walk of life. I've seen it. There's anointing because again, the word um the word is meant to be in all places, not just one place. Okay? Every place I went to, um little did I know, I can just you can just see it. Little did I know I was supposed to be at where I was at, and things turned out just the way the Most High led me to do it. Okay, and most people, when following a life of prophecy, it's a type of way you have to be too. Okay, I can go more into this, in a breakdown, but that I can only talk about my experience and um, how I've seen prophets come in my life. I've seen things that I thought, again, it was something. It was something I know God was in it because there's no way I could have planned this. I didn't know this. I was just speaking on this. And I know that the Most High, the great mother that we live under, wouldn't allow such atrocities. And so I spoke out because it was some of those things was detestable to me. And so I believe in a sort of righteousness, especially leaders should have. So when you feel something like that, that passionate as well, and that's what you see in prophets as well. You'll see this type of uh um fire in prophets because they mean exactly what they say. Who else would be sort of like a prophet? Cat Williams. Cat Williams, when he was talking about what he means, what he say, he can stand in that. You understand what I'm saying? That's why he was able to talk about the things that were to come because he can stand in his righteousness. And you got to have that sort of righteousness if you're gonna have the great spirit be moving you. You have to stand and know for sure even when people don't like you, they blackball you. See how they did him? But he still stood up. He was grounded in what he knew. Even when people didn't like him, he kept going. He's been successful ever since. Hasn't stopped his motion. That's what you call, again, and then you have other prophets as well. He's just a small example, but there's prophets everywhere where we have to go in and go into these institutions and take people down who think they can oppress poor people or they can manipulate people. They have then God use our mouth. It becomes a sword. And he go to and we didn't even know our words could turn like that. But again, these are not our words. This is the Most High giving us what to say. It's a certain way we got to do things and a certain way to say things as well. Okay, that's how you know it. When the Most High is using you like that, and believe we do not. I can't tell you how I feel. I felt like Jonah in the whale. When they said that the fish swallowed up Jonah. I felt sort of like that, like I want to run, but I knew I no way I could run because I was faced with. I have no choice but to say something. And most time when I start a prayer like this, I said, God, you know what you put in me, and you know how you created me, and you know how I function. You know this is something I cannot be in this place with this type of negativity. You know I can't, and I cannot be here without saying anything. So if you want me to be here, you're gonna have to make it like this, and I'm going to speak up. Okay, so you know what God, you know what the Most High put in you. You know what your ancestors stood up for. Open your mouth. Is it scary? Hell to the yeah. I'm not gonna say it's not. It's completely scary because people have a tendency to react to the truth and they're not ready for the truth. But my thing with that, if the ancestors, if the Most High is for you, who can be against you? No one. Don't let the numbers of conformists fool you. They cannot compare to the power, to the Most High or the ancestors. They cannot be defeated. You have to be rooted in that and know that. Okay? And you rooted in that and know that, you'll be surprised. Like I said, I have had experiences, especially when I was at that shelter. I had experience when I was living in this place and they were trying to um railroad me and said I owed them money, and it just things just flipped all around. It can turn and shake and shift things around, and you were needed because if your voice changed something, that means some people was doing that, or this has been going on too long. Your voice was waiting. Okay, your God was waiting to use your voice to come through. So when you're led to do certain things and you led to certain places and you led to walk a certain kind of life, it be for a reason. I used to say, why, God, why you put me over here? Why am I over here? And then something I know that only God can do because I opened my mouth because I surrendered. That's basically what you're doing. You're doing a lot of surrendering when you're a prophet because you have no control of anything. So you're doing a lot of surrendering there. Okay. But I recommend you go back and look at Deborah's story because, like I said, her story is very powerful, and they began to listen to her because she had something to say. Okay. I'm just going to read you a little bit of what we posted in Patreon about it because I talked about it in Patreon. We go into very good detail, and we go and we talk about these prophets because, again, they were the real root workers. They were the real conjure people. That's how we see that in hoodoo. When we look at the Bible from a hoodoo grimoire, and we go to looking at these archetypes that our ancestors looked at and how they looked at them and worked with some of these anthropomorphic beings, we gain more insight and again have more faith in our hoodoo. Deborah emerges as one of the most powerful figures in the Bible. A prophetess, a judge, and a spiritual warrior. Because she was a judge too. Again, she's in Judges 4 and 5. This is a woman now in a patriarch society. At a time when Israel was being harshly oppressed by King Jamin of Canaan, Deborah didn't just pray, she acted. Sitting under the palm tree between Ramah and Bethel, she dispensed divine wisdom and strategy. She gave them military strategy. Can you imagine it? These men were afraid. They were afraid of the Canaanites. They did not want to fight. She had to be right there with them while they were out there fighting and telling them when to attack. I thought that was something. She summoned Barak and told him that the Lord commanded him to rise up and fight. And Rebecca hesitated. She didn't waver. See, he didn't want to do it. He was afraid. He was really afraid. And she had to tell him, when God tell me, when I do this and I do that, that means to go here, attack here, and do that. Go back. It's a very interesting story. Okay, especially for the root workers and the hoodoo women, conjure women and hoodoo. This is a very inspirational story because, again, this is before any kings came on the scene. Okay, we just have the Israelites here among the Canaanites. She declared that a woman would receive the glory for the coming victory. This ancient biblical account mirrors the spiritual technology found in hoodoo. Same thing. Same thing. Liberation, freedom. We kept talking that talk, even when people was telling us it's not gonna be possible. It's not gonna. We kept on doing our magic, and we keep doing it right now today. Even in the Americas, wherever we are, we still tap into the spiritual technology of our ancestors. Okay, the root workers, the conjurers, we still do that to this day, and really going to need it, especially in the Americas now with all the changes that's coming up on us. Okay, hoodoo, like Deborah, speaks truth to power. It is a spiritual science passed down through generations, often led by women seers, root workers, conjure workers, who, like Deborah, tapped into divine revelation or liberation. I mean, for liberation. The same thing we do right now today. I know we heard about Moses, but did you hear about Deborah? Okay. Deborah led them to, again, their first independence, the first time that they fought, because they were afraid. They were afraid to stand up. And here, Deborah, this prophetess, leading a whole bunch of men on standing up for themselves, on actually putting in the work. Very inspiring story. You should read it. Again, you can see this in Judges 4 and 5. Okay, just as Deborah used prophecy and spiritual authority to call for liberation, so did the enslaved and their descendants. Songs like Go Down Moses echo the cry for Exodus 5 and 1. Let my people go. The stars were read as signs, roots were bored for strength and healing, and prayers became weapons. The land, the Bible, the ancestral spirits were all part of the divine toolkit. Okay. Deborah Courage speaking to truth, military power, commanding the spiritual battle, and declaring victory before it came reflects the leadership many black women have held in their communities in hoodoo tradition. Her song of victory in Judges 5 is a reminder the liberation must be celebrated, remembered, and sung through generations. We are Deborah's children. We judge beneath the trees of our ancestors, speak prophecy from our altars, and march forward with spiritual army behind us. Hoodoo is not a superstition, it is our sacred inheritance. And it's important that we understand the Bible from that perspective, and knowing right now in the Americas, because I'm speaking to what's going on now, that it can relate to right now, and now more than ever is the perfect time to stand in that faith like our ancestors did when it came to their magical work or this spiritual technology. I'm gonna say it like that, because a lot of people think hoodoo it works like magic, but really it's a little different, especially when we come from the ancestral perspective. Now I'm going to go into this right now. Okay. uh Again, understanding hoodoo from a spiritual science and technology, especially when we go through our ancestors. Now we just dive deep over there on Patreon. We got to talk about communing with spirits. So we're going to be talking about spirits and ancestors over there a lot. Okay, we're not gonna be talking about no magic spells, no workings, and nothing like that, because we know none of that works without the ancestors. So let's just knock it off. The Psalms, none of that doesn't work without a relationship with your ancestors. That's the technology, the core of your technology when it comes to your hoodoo. Am I getting through to any of you? Do you understand that? Hi, Mama Wisdom. Hi, Being Design. Hi, Coach T. Hi, Stephanie Wilson. Hello, hello, everyone. My TikTok family. Greetings, greetings, Tina Cole. Hi, Tante May. Good to see you too, sweetie. I was on a short travel. I'm glad to be back. Hey, hello, hello, hello. Tandy May and Stephanie Wilson. So again, nothing works without the ancestors. And looking being able to view things through their lens. That's why we talk about the Bible in such that way, uh where we always see our liberation and freedom. We take that out of a way. That's what we learn. Let me put it like that. That's what we learn when we look at the Bible from a hoodoo perspective. Just like I talked about Deborah. Go read that story for yourself. Very inspiring story. And this was a woman doing that. I know they talked about Moses, but you probably need to talk about Deborah too, because Deborah solidified their independence. Again, we focus on the spiritual science of hoodoo. And what is the spiritual science? Working with your ancestors, working with spirits, learning how to do that, taking time to sit with your ancestors and go to that altar. If you're not doing that, then going ahead and pouring those libations daily, going out having reverence with them, pouring those libations. Okay, before we even think about magic, again, we have to develop a relationship, because that's how our magic is powered. Now, we just got through talking about the interesting thing, too, because we're diving deep over there on Patreon. And we're probably going to talk about this even more in our meeting with the ritual members and the conjure members. Probably have, because we have a meeting coming up this month, because we're diving deep into hoodoo now. We're going to the science. And I try to work with people in small groups. Hello, Lady Ra. So we can really make progress. I'm going to say it that way. Really make progress over there when we do that. But we're going to go into we're getting into Congo cosmology when we look at the Bantu indigenous roots of hoodoo, and looking at how we look at the cross and why we go counterclockwise. Why do we go counterclockwise? A lot of people go clockwise, but in hoodoo we look at the counterclockwise because that's the indigenous way of looking at the soul evolution. I'm gonna say it like that. So when we look at the soul evolution, then we look at counterclockwise, not clockwise. We're going by indigenous cosmology when we do this. Okay, we start looking. So now we're going deeper into uh, not just the cosmology, but then we start looking at the Bantu relationship with their ancestors and their relationship with the universe. So now we start learning about the science of hoodoo because we're going to talk about spirits over there. If you're not comfortable with talking about necromancy, because that's how they labeled it, it's not my fault. Okay. And then you got the Christians calling it evil, but you know, again, they praying the spirit. I don't understand these concepts. Okay. Uh, again, with them. So again, we have to learn about necromancy. We have to learn about spirits because what are we doing? We are a spirit. One day going to be not have this physical body, third dimensional body, and one day we're going to be just a spirit. So why not learn about spirits? Your ancestors are spirits. Okay. So we're going into the technology or how to communicate with spirits. So we will learn that. You're gonna hear me beat that into your head. Even when you ask me, what should I do, Miss Penny? I want to do such and such and such, Miss Penny. I'm gonna say, did you ask your ancestors? What did they say? Again, putting you back in alignment with your ancestors. That's what hoodoo is. Hoodoo is about getting in alignment. That's what the baths are for. That's what the spiritual technology is there for. Okay, that's what the again, when we do the workings and the prayer work and petitions is for alignment. A lot of people saying, "Oh, it's magic." Yeah, if you're in alignment, being in alignment with what you're asking for, being in alignment with your ancestors so they can better help you. That's what we do over there. Okay, so we're going to be talking about spirit a lot and communicating with your ancestors so you can get results in your workings. Does that make sense to you? Hi, Scar. Does that make sense to you? If that makes sense to you, put yes in the chat if that makes sense to you. Because I'm not going to, it makes no sense to me to be teaching you a whole bunch of working with candles and things like that when I know that your outcome of your workings is going to be based on your relationship with your ancestors. That makes sense because hoodoo is ancestral. Again, that's the source of our power. That's who's guiding us on this journey. I think we kind of, we get people show us stuff on here and all that. But if we understand hoodoo as a spiritual science and not just hi Gerald Cole and not just go in and say, oh, this person showed me this and I'm gonna go do that. But did you ask your ancestors? Are they are in agreement, in alignment with the work that you're doing? Because you might need to do something else. I'm gonna keep talking about this because see, y'all don't want to hear it like this, but I'm just gonna tell you the truth. Hello, Mo. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And it's only so much stuff you're gonna be able to do if you ain't aligned with your ancestors. Some stuff you don't really have to do if you go into that. If you communicating with your ancestors, you got their relationship. Are you pouring libations? Do you have an altar? A lot of you want to get over here and hoodoo, and you're not ready to physically do the work. Over there in our community, we're ready for people. If you're ready to do the work, you're ready to do the rituals, you're ready to be consistent with your ancestors, then this is the place for you. If you're not ready, then you probably want to go for that smaller tier where you just read before you're ready. That's our the occult tier. We got a lot of literature over there, resources for you to read if you're not ready. But for the ritual and the conjure membership, these are for people who are ready to put in the work, that you know what you should be doing, that you understand uh the spiritual sciences, that you ready to get in alignment, that you're ready to do the work. I just did the third day of uncrossing. Oh, congratulations, Tina Cole. You're on getting in alignment. You're getting in alignment, beloved. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You might have to do stuff with 3 and 4 days in a row. You'll be getting up 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe doing some Psalms work, whatever your ancestors lead you to do. But this is about getting in alignment. Is it gonna always do? Is it always gonna go your way? One thing I've learned about working with the ancestors, it's about surrender. You don't have control of the outcome. You just know you're gonna get some results. Okay, you made a petition, and you have to let it work and keep doing the work. Again, this is a science. It's why they did it in layers. They did baths on top of doing other work, whatever work they want to do, whether it was with a candle, with a jar, with water. I don't know what your thing is. But again, that's what we study over there. And every full moon or every new moon that comes out, I know we just had a Lionsgate, so I wasn't able to really chime in on that. My thoughts on that too. I feel like too, with the Lionsgate thing, is such a, I don't know. I feel like it's more of a new age thing. That's just my take on. I feel like it has so many new age elements to it. I don't feel like it's really hoodoo. But if you want to work with those energies, I see nothing wrong with it if you ask your ancestors. But again, it just feel like new age to me. Okay. Again, I just stick to the moon because that's what I know our ancestors follow. I stick to the phases of the moon, and we have one that's coming up tomorrow for you guys, August 9th. I think there's a full moon in Aquarius that's coming up. Okay, and that Aquarius deals with innovation. It deals with, do you have to have an altar to talk to your ancestors? No. Some people, you can go out in nature and pour libations and talk to your ancestors. Okay, connect with the land and pour out water or rum, whatever their favorite liquor is, and talk to your ancestors and do petitions and prayers that way. You can start out like that. But usually, if you're at some point getting into hoodoo as a spiritual practice, I just find it most effective at some point that you have an altar, a meeting place. Okay, I just find it helpful like that. Some people, they don't want to do that. They just only want to honor their ancestors. They don't want to do an altar. Again, you can go out and pour libations every day or once a week or what. Hello, hello, Latina. Hello, Prophet. You're welcome, Mama Wisdom. Hello, Night, Drew Sound. Okay. Hello, everyone in the TikTok, all my TikTok family. Hello, hello. And all my YouTube family. Hello, hello. So again, yes, Aquarius in my sun sign and Leo's in my moon sign. Yeah, I think I gave you a reading on that, on the work you probably want to focus on now based on your astrological chart. And I do those too, guys. What I do is I go and I do the root work and look at your astrological chart from a hoodoo root work perspective. And based on that, uh, I can tell you or provide some insight on the work that will be beneficial to you based on um, the current forecast, astrological forecast. And it's really eye opening, and it can be so, it's very. I say it can be very accurate, especially when it comes to doing the ancestors' work or what we should be doing at this present moment. So if just that's something that you're interested in, DM me your email and I'll get you out an invoice. Let me put my thing in the chat here. Okay. So that's very eye opening if you want to look at that. But I'm gonna go over a little bit what to expect with some of the elemental signs, especially when it comes to the fire signs. You might be getting the archetype here is the Fool for the fire signs: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. New beginnings, new beginnings, new beginnings, setting the attention for new beginnings. You probably want to, again, do a lot of releasing and ending old things right now with this full moon. Okay. And welcoming in the new. So releasing, welcoming in the new for the fire signs. That's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Earth signs. For you guys, the Taurus, the Virgo, the Capricorn, again, releasing any emotional, negative emotional baggage, anything that no longer serves you. Again, helping you gain more control over your emotional well-being. So anything that's not emotionally serving you, we want to release that during this full moon. Okay? Because again, the focus here is emotional balance and comfort. We want to be comfortable with who we are and letting go any of those heavy emotions that no longer serve us. And this is for the Taurus, the Virgo, and Capricorn. This for this full moon that's coming up. A lot of releasing. Okay. And you're represented by the Queen of Cups. Okay. So a lot of releasing that needs to happen when it comes to your emotions. The air signs. Hi, Royal Goddess. Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. What if your lights blinking at night in your room all the time? I would do a cleansing first. Do a cleansing and ask whatever that may be lower vibrational in that space to remove itself. I would definitely do a smudging and crack a window and ask whatever is there. Because if, again, gauging how you feel, what you think that's going on there. Okay. What do you think what's going on there? I'm not there, so I can't give you much insight on that. Again, how you're feeling, what mood are you in? Do you think it's some negativity? Do you think you need to cleanse? That's what I would do, Royal Goddess. Okay, so for the earth signs, again, it's about emotional wellness for you this full moon. The air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Again, the magicians, where you have to be, again, and again, when I look at that too, because magicians kind of ruled by Mercury communication. And so again, you have to be careful what's coming out your mouth. Okay. Let's release all the negative things that be coming out our mouth and the things that we be thinking. Okay. A lot of releasing because again, you're getting ready to tap into your manifestation. So knowing that air signs, knowing that what you be saying and thinking creates your magic. Let's get control of that and release any of these negativities or blocks that prevents us from creating the things we want to willingly manifest. Okay, air signs. Let's do a lot of releasing around that. Let's speak that and say we want to release that and we want to welcome in all our beautiful manifestations and stop crossing ourselves up with our thinking or the things that we're saying. Is that making sense to you, air signs? Stop it, air signs. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. I'm talking to you. Okay. I hope that's making sense to you. But we want to do a kind of focus on releasing that. Because again, you're the magician. You're creating it, and we take full accountability when we do that. Okay. And so when that new moon comes, we be ready. We be ready. We did some releasing. And you probably want to do a bath with that too. I say with any type of full moon ritual or anything like that you're going to be doing, start with the bath. Okay. The water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Page of Cups. Again, this is also intuitive, but this also deals with the way our behaviors as well. So again, What are what are we reacting to that doesn't need our emotional reaction? So think about that, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Yes, you have every right to feel that you're feeling, but you don't have to react to it. Does that make sense? Let's release reacting to the way we feel. Instead, let's respond. Let's work on responding, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Let's work on that. We will no longer react. We will respond to how we feel. Yes, they are valid. We're not going to push them away. But guess what? We're going to respond instead of react. We're going to sit in it and we're going to think about how we want to respond instead of react. Okay? Nobody's saying, hey, our emotions, they're not valid. Yes, they're valid, but they don't have to control our behaviors. Is that making sense to you, Pisces? Okay. I have been doing cleansing, but it is light gets brighter. They used to. Okay. Okay. I have been doing cleansing, but it the lights gets brighter. They used to get lower. I I don't know what again, if you feel that that is a good sign, then I wouldn't worry about it because it could be the way your spirit guides are speaking to you. Um, you can also ask questions, are you a good spirit? See if the lights flicker. Are you my ancestors? Again, communicate with it. But if you think it's not of you know, a good spirit or good energy, then I would cleanse it. Okay, especially if it's making you afraid or uncomfortable. And then I don't know where you live at. It could be spirits in that house because some houses come with spirits. Okay, some houses come with spirits. Every house has a spirit. Matter of fact, if you in it, your apartment or your living space, it comes alive when you're in it. Okay. So speaking to your space too and sanctifying your space is very important. Because again, in hoodoo, the way we see things, everything is alive. And we dive deeper in there when we go get into the cosmology of our ancestors, the aneism of it. Again, when you don't know, people are trying their best to explain hoodoo, but over there, in our community, the way I explain it in such a way that it's a science that takes the guessing out of it. Because again, it is a science, it is a technology. And if you do the work, you'll see results. That's simple. If you work with your ancestors closely, you're going to get the results. You're going to see it. Okay? Because what's the center of it? It's ancestors, it's spirits. And somebody is telling you that who want to just keep showing you magic and all that other stuff, that ain't gonna help you. I'm just gonna let you know that ain't gonna help you. You need your ancestors, period. You need your ancestors to guide you. There's no way of working hoodoo around the ancestors. You can't be comfortable with practicing magic if you're not comfortable with working with spirits. Because that's what you're doing when you conjure, when you do root work, when you're doing ritual, that's what you're doing. We just dive deeper in the root work, understanding that these roots and plants and things, the spirit of Hajjan the Conqueror, that's a spirit inside the root. Okay, so we work with spirits, working with we're gonna go deeper when we go talking about root work and ritual over there and conjuring stuff. But hey, these are spirits. And so you don't understand anyism, uh, the indigenous knowledge when it comes to working with plants and trees and things like that, then you're going to be lost, especially you don't see things as spirit. Because hoodoo, for me, when I knew the ancestors in it, one day I was working hoodoo and I woke up and I seen spirits everywhere. Stuff that I seen every day. Now I was seeing spirits in everything. Okay? And that's just how it is. You can't get out, you can't get away from it because everything is a spirit. That's when again, you're looking in the spiritual realm when you see trees and all that rocks, build again, you see energy everywhere. You see spirits everywhere. Okay? So it's a good idea to look at it from that perspective, and we break that all down so you understand why you working with the roots. What is the spirit of these roots? We just went over a big lecture about this. I don't know if they got the materials yet, but we have maybe 4 or 5 uh extensive root ebooks that we give out as well as a lecture. Okay, we give out those books so you can thoroughly see, what resonates with you. And then if you get our astrological reading, and I look at your chart and give you a reading from a hoodoo perspective, you'll know the kind of roots you need to be working with, based specifically for you and your energy, and what ancestral work you need to be focusing on. So again, we approach this from a scientific perspective. I'm not going to be teaching you a whole bunch of work. Why? When I do that, your ancestors going to show you that. You'll see that over there. You can read about it and do your work on it, because your work is all about your research and you looking for it. Now, if you have a question to run by me and say, Miss Penny, do you think I should do this work or that work? I can give you some insight that way. But for at the end of that, I'm gonna say, did you ask your ancestors which one would be the best? I can give you a recommendation, but who has the last word? The ultimate word is your ancestors. I would never go above what your ancestors ask you or lead you to do. Okay? I would never do that. I'm going to recommend you. I'm going to support you and kind of guide you how your work should look, especially staying aligned with your ancestors. That's what this is about. I'm always going to recommend that for you. I'll give you my insight, my recommendation, any guidance or wisdom I can offer. And then I'll say, okay, run it by your ancestors and see what they say. Okay. Always keeping it that way. Because again, not have you dependent on me. You need to be dependent on your ancestors. You need to be dependent upon your own intuition. So again, I'm gonna always keep the power in your hands, and that's where it should stay. Okay. We again, I don't know how people are understanding hoodoo these days, but it is more of a science and technology more than this magic. And we go deeper in there too. There's another lecture that we'll be going into when we look at Egyptian magic. And we start looking at Egyptian magic too. You start to see, oh my gosh, hoodoo is really old. It is really old. It just this term is new. The term is new, but the spiritual science is old. We have been doing this from the beginning of time when we start looking at the spiritual practices among other African diaspora religions. Okay, when we start looking at them, we go, oh my gosh, like this is really old. Like we really carry this with us. Yes, we carried it hoodoo with us or our spiritual system with us everywhere we go. Because when you look at the other spiritual systems amongst African diaspora, you see elements, we see elements of hoodoo in them. We see why we have hoodoo. We understand more about hoodoo when we look at the other African diaspora spiritual systems. But you're not going to understand that if somebody keeps teaching you from one perspective. And we already know that, spirituality is not linear. We already know that. And we know that hoodoo has uh, complex and complex spiritual systems that we have to understand what's in it. Okay. It's not just the Bible. We have some folk magic in it. We have some high magic in it. We have sympathetic magic in it. We have imitation magic in it. We have animism in it. We have necromancy in it. And if you don't understand this, you know, you will miss the spiritual science behind it. And again, we put this all together to start coming together for you once you start connecting with your ancestors. Jericho. So, as me being a water sign, am I to do full moon ceremony tomorrow as well? Okay, for the water signs. Oh, I didn't even get to you guys. Yes, I did. Again, I would do some maybe some water rituals, do some maybe a water ritual, pouring water, a libation, or something like that with the ancestors, releasing any type of behaviors um that kind of block you, emotional behaviors. Okay, you don't have to react to them, but have more control over them. So I would recommend some rituals like that. But let me get into some rituals before I keep going about hoodoo, because I keep going on and on about hoodoo because that's me. That's what I do. Okay, so for the fire signs, again, you probably want to work with the elements of fire, conjure, ignite some transformation, create kind of think about your breakthrough. So releasing the old, welcome in the new, burning down. You probably want to work with fire, burning the old and bring it in the new, and focus on transformation. There will be the focus, and then the herbs. Again, I would use like fire herbs, like ginger, cinnamon, red pepper, something like that. Okay. Those are the herbs that I probably would be working with. I would recommend for the fire sign work with some again those herbs that work that are lined with the element of fire. I hope that makes sense to you. Again, we're being intentional about what herbs we're working with. Okay. So again, we'll work with the fire elements, the fire herbs, which is ginger, cinnamon, and pepper, red pepper. You can work with red candles if you want to, but again, we want to stay focused on our power and focus on transformation, and that's for the fire signs. Okay, so again, working with cinnamon, ginger, or red pepper if you are a Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries. For the earth signs, y'all should be working close to the earth, close with the dirt, close with your plants. Okay, and releasing anything that is no longer serving you, especially when it, again, coming up. Let me go back to the top here because I got my notes here. Yeah, especially when it comes to balancing your emotions. Okay. We want to get a hold of that so we can plant new seeds. Okay. So that's what the earth sign should be focused on. Again, if you have plants and things like that, because I go in more details of how to work with plants and things over there on Patreon. If you're working with plants or anything like that, you want to stay grounded with them. You want to do any magic when it comes to working with dirt. Maybe you want to bury some petitions. Again, this is your element. You want to stay grounded, and maybe you want to work with some dirt. Okay. Uh, I don't know if you earth signs, if you thought about mojo bags, that's probably something you want to look into. If you know a lot about mojo bags, you probably want to uh look into having a mojo bag to help ground you or something like that. But again, a mojo bags takes time, it takes patience, and it takes intent. If you don't want to do that, but again, put your petition into the earth. Work with some dirt. Okay. Again, we want to be emotionally stable. Earth sign. Again, communication. We want to get rid of that crossing ourselves up with our communication, with the thinking and the speaking that we have going on with the Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. You probably want to do some writing at this time. Work with lavender, a star anise, if you can, frankincense. So those probably the herbs that you want to focus on at this time, and do some writing and releasing all that negative thinking and the things that you've been saying. Okay, so we don't want to cross ourselves up anymore. And I just talked about the water signs um, with Gerald. So for the Cancer, Scorpio, and the Pisces, again, releasing any lower vibrations or negativity that you're feeling at this time, just getting emotionally in alignment with the vision. Okay. So we want to release any negativity, dealing heavily with our emotions. We don't have to react to them. We can respond to them. So we really want to again release all those negative feelings. Yes, you have every right to feel the way you want to feel, but we can't let our emotions control us. That's the thing for Cancer. Okay. Now dive into some real, because I know Scorpio likes to go deep. Everybody thinks Scorpio is kind of weird, but no, Scorpio, they see deeper. Again, for the Scorpios, this would be a good time to do some ancestral work for you. Okay. Cancer and Pisces, because you'll find a lot of the ancestors will be able to help you do that transformation and shift when you work with them. With Cancer and Pisces, again, letting go those behaviors. You can work with your ancestors as well as releasing those behaviors, emotional behaviors that kind of get you crossed up. Okay. And you probably want to work with Moonstone. Um, Yeah, working with moonstone, or maybe make some moon water as well. Working with water as well is gonna be your thing. Whether you wanna pour libations or, make moon water, pour libations under the full moon, okay? So those are the things I recommend for the water signs, the earth signs, the water signs, and the fire signs. Those are the things that I recommend. Now, over there on Patreon, I usually do a full breakdown for every zodiac sign, and it's just something general. You don't have to follow the recommendations, but it's just what I see that comes up, um, that I recommend, and it might be helpful. So I try to help out as much as I can. And as always, ask your ancestors before you just go doing what I just recommended. Ask them because they get the last say. I can recommend something, but they might have something different for you. But these are some of the things that may be coming up during this full moon that you might find yourself, uh, being an obstacle for you. And it's quite normal. With hoodoo, we're constantly staying in alignment. It happens. You're human. You're in the third dimensional reality. Okay, so you're gonna have to stay cleansed and stay aligned. It's just like when I got home from this trip. Um, I was in Malaysia. It was an unplanned trip. I'm learning new things about myself, and I did not like um, the way I responded to that unpredicted travel. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I learned so many things about my anxiety, changes, and how fast I can shift. How fast, I was learning so many things when I was on that unpredicted trip. And so I got back home. I didn't like my reaction to that. I talked to my ancestors about that. It's like, okay, you need to just get back in alignment. Now that you know, it'll be a different thing that you didn't realize this was going on and didn't take accountability. You you took accountability, your part in it. So work on your response. Work on your response. Work on how you deal with the unexpected. And so that's my thing now. Finding new ways to deal with the unexpected. And it can be shocking. It can be reactive for me. So again, I didn't like the way I responded. Um, I got myself back in alignment, got me a bath, meditated with my ancestors, talked to them about what was going on with me, how I did not like my behavior. I didn't, I need to do better. And it was like, okay, don't beat yourself up about it. You recognize the issue. Okay. So now you're open to a better response. So being open to that better response, that's when the shifting can happen. But had I not been aware of it and not owned it and not did any shadow work and not questioned how I felt in my responses, then I wouldn't have gained that knowledge. But because I questioned how I felt, I didn't like the way I was responding. I didn't like it. I said, "This is something going on with me. It's nobody else. It's me." Okay, it was me. So again, we're constantly is staying in alignment because things can ruffle us. Okay, they can make us react. They can have our emotions running a little high, and that will happen. You're not going to do everything. This is not about perfection. If you think this is about perfection, no, it's not. It's about learning. It's about learning, and sometimes you're not going to do it right the first time. That's okay. You're not supposed to because you're learning, especially when it comes to uh, doing the shifting emotionally and mentally over there. It takes time. That's why I say when people, you get in there and you really start learning hoodoo from a scientific perspective, it can seem a little overwhelming. But this is all the information that you have not been given. And so, yes, it's going to seem a little overwhelming, but what I tell people, take your time. It took time for them to make us forget about our spirituality. So it's going to take time for you to gain it back, and you're not going to probably do a lot of the things you see over there. You'll probably get two or three things that work for you. It doesn't. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, you'll probably work with one herb. You'll probably do work one way. That's fine. The idea is for you to find your magic and to connect with your ancestors. That's it. Your magic doesn't have to look like your science or your spiritual science, your ancestral magic. It doesn't have to look like anybody else. The only thing it has to do is make sense and work for you and your ancestors. That's it. I would be worried if it looked like exactly like somebody else's stuff, because 'cause I'd be like, "Okay, where your ancestors in it? Did they tell you to do that?" Because that's the first thing Imma ask you. Did your ancestors tell you to do it just like that? You know? Did they not want to put their signature on it, their personals on it? Did you not put your personals on it? Now, yeah, you can do somebody else's work, but at some point, it has to make sense to you. It has to make sense to your ancestors. It's got to be something that they guided you to do. Okay, so we want to, make sense of it. You don't have to learn everything. You might find, and we cover a variety of things. We'll cover necromancy. We'll cover herbs. We'll cover ceremonial magic. Um, we'll cover folk magic. We just cover a variety of things over there. Okay, I don't know what's gonna resonate with you. Only you and your ancestors know, but we're gonna cover it. So if you do run into that, you'll have the information there. Okay, so we cover everything. If you want to, again, thinking of hoodoo too, it's not just limited to your ancestors. It's not just limited to work, because sometimes you might have to work with a saint. Okay, you might have to work with the spirit of High John the Conqueror. You might have to work with Black Hawk. You might have to work with Saint Expedite. It's still hoodoo. Okay, you might have an emergency and want to work with Saint Expedite. You probably need some real strong protection, and you want to work with Archangel Michael. You want to do that type of work. You want to work on protection work. Your ancestors want to work with. They want to make sure you have the supreme protection, so they have you working with the Archangel Michael. Again, knowing the rituals and knowing how to communicate with these different archangels, knowing how to set up the table for them to know their likes, what what is the best time to do rituals with them. There's the things that we talk about over there because it's a science. We just don't be doing things because somebody showed us, or that's something that we want to do and we haven't asked our ancestors. We just don't. We prepare. That's what hoodoo is about. It's about preparation and intentions, getting your mind, your body, your spirit aligned with your work. Because if it's not aligned, you're not going to be that effective. And again, we want to be effective in our work. I hope this making sense. So again, we show you the spiritual science behind and technology behind hoodoo. It's not just magic, okay? It's not just a collection of spells and charms and rituals. It's not just that. That's a little bit of it, but the most part of it is going to be doing getting an alignment and doing ancestors work. And what does ancestors work do? It builds your character. Because when you start working with your integrity and you start releasing uh all this negative heavy energy, we start to transform, and we be again, our righteousness begins to uh let me put it that way, our righteousness, we can really see our higher self and our righteousness in ourselves because we're doing the character work. And that's what shadow work gonna do. We got to continue to be able to say, hey, I got this going on with me, and I'm not trying to not, I need to work on this. And then start finding work you can do in hoodoo to get yourself in alignment. I need to be doing these kind of baths. Let me be doing some uncrossing bath to get myself in alignment. Let me be saying these psalms right here for 3 or 4 days in a row. Let me be getting up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to call on this angel. Or maybe I should be doing this ritual during this time of day, calling on this angel to help me do the energetic shifts I need to get in alignment. That's how that works. I don't know, somebody telling you you can wave around. No, it's work over here. We do our work in over here in hoodoo. This is a science. In the conjure, what are you? The conjure and the root worker. You are the doctor. You are the healer. You become the doctor and the healer. Here, over here. Okay. We get alignment. You become the priestess or priest of your ancestral magic. That's what you're doing over here when you get yourself in alignment. That's why we got the baths. That's why we got the workings. You could do a blockbuster candle, but if you're doing a blockbuster to move everything out, do you know what you need to be moving out? Are you aware of it? Have you did the shadow work to see how you're energetically playing in some of these blocks? Do you have a bath and ritual lined up to take care of it? Have you done an itinerary on how you're going to start addressing some of these blocks? Are they physical blocks? Is it anything you can do? Again, if you're doing the block, it's got to back up, it's got to be in alignment. Most practices we have to get in alignment, right? That's right, Royal Goddess. That is right. If you know you got some road opening work you have to do depending on what it is, you know, what's keeping you, say it's a job. We're gonna keep it simple. Say it's a job. Okay. When we get it, we have to get in alignment. First, we're gonna do some cleansing work and maybe do that for 3 days, and then we will start doing open roads bath, something like that. A cut and clear bath to clear our roads. Get you some oranges, some lemons, maybe a little hot John the Conqueror to start working with that before we even start doing a road opener. Okay. Before we actually get to that work, we're gonna do a cleansing. Maybe we do a blockbuster. We'll do a cleansing for those three, depending on how long your ancestors want you to do a blockbuster. You do that cleansing with the blockbuster, looking at the things that you got to break up, break it all up, address it, and then do the road opener. Do the work for 3 or 4 days, doing the road opener work. Say your psalms, your rituals, what whatever spirit your ancestors you want you to work with, or are you working with your ancestors? We all this is there's methods to this. There's steps to this. We just don't do things randomly. We think things out. We are intentional when we do it. Magic is science. We just don't get up here and start waving stuff and doing stuff without correct timing and all of that. That's why when you get over there, on Patreon, usually when I talk about if I'm talking about a moon ritual or something like that, I'm gonna post it maybe 3 or 4 days before that full moon or new moon come up. That gives you time enough to think about what you want to do or talk to your ancestors about what you need to be doing. Because again, you might have to prepare to do the work. So I'm going to give you some time to prepare to do the work and then do the work whenever that moon, new moon or whatever. Because I don't know what you got going on. So usually I'll talk about that days before a full moon or a new moon so you can prepare. Okay, there's a lot of preparation because why? Because it's intentions, it's our energy. Where your focus goes, energy goes. So if you instantly start preparing for your work, the better your results because you've been focusing on it, you've been doing it intentionally, you have been preparing, you have been doing the shifts, you're ready for it. Already been calling on your ancestors days before you go to that altar and telling them that what you want to do. Okay, you've already been setting the scene. That's how it works. We just don't go out here and do things sporadically like that. No matter what you see on here, um, yeah, no matter what you said, I'm very concerned too when I see people on here that show work or they're doing work for a client and again and they're showing it on here. It just don't look right. Okay, I know what you're seeing on here, and again, the best way I can explain it is there is more going on behind the scenes. You might see a candle burning and a real practitioner has more going on behind the scenes. It was more than them just burning that candle to get that work done. Okay. They probably had to make a petition to their ancestors, a petition to their spirit guides, or whatever spirit that they're working with. Again, because that's what we do over here in hoodoo. That's why we call it conjure. We work with the spirits of herbs. We work with the spirit of oils, waters. We understand that there's spirits in everything. We work with our ancestors. And so we explain that again, as a science when we start looking at I just did a great book review, a lecture on the natural elements in hoodoo when it comes to stones, when it comes to oil, when it comes to plants and things like that. Again, all these elements are alive. We give reverence to them when we use them. We pray over them. We thank them for their contribution in our magic. This is like anything that you get out in nature and you scavenge it for your workings. You want to leave an offering and ask, can you use it in workings? We just don't take things out of nature without asking, without leaving an offering, because all of these are spirits. That's conjure for you, that's hoodoo, that's root work. And if you're just approaching it like that, and you just picking up stuff and then dumping it in the candle and all this, you're not doing anything because again, are you respecting the reverence and spirits of it? Because everything is spirit. How do you know what traditions is for you or just a free spirit of spirituality? Only you can answer that question, and your ancestors can answer that question, Royal Goddess. Some people feel drawn to be and go into a African religion, traditional religion. And again, what I like to help people understand when you do this, you're going into another religion. Hello, Mother Earth. Hello, Tanaya. Hello, Lola Thelio. Hello, Alio Diallo. Hello, everyone in the chat, YouTube and TikTok. I like to help people understand that when you go into an African tradition, religion, that you are going into a religion which you are following the customs, the practice, the rituals of that religion. Okay. It's nothing like a free spirituality where you think you're going to be doing something that you want to do. No, they have a certain way of doing things over there in the African tradition religion. They follow the traditions over there. Okay, they closely follow the tradition that was set up that is a religion. So again, understanding that versus spirituality. And I'm just going to talk about hoodoo. For me, hoodoo gave me more freedom because I get to learn directly from my ancestors. I'm not in a religion. I am following the spiritual practice of my ancestors, the way they did things. I don't follow, no, nobody is ruling me, no priest or nothing is over me. I'm not asking for permission or anything like that. I'm going directly to my ancestors. Okay. I like that freedom of not having somebody tell me what to do or telling me you have some African tradition religions, they want to be the one to talk to your ancestors. They'll do all that for you. That don't make me comfortable. I don't like that. How come I can't talk to my folks? Hi Sky High, how you doing, beloved? Hello, welcome to the live stream. Hello, Christy. Am I saying that right? Yeah, Christy Jonathan. Okay, so I didn't like that. I just again, I don't like the religion thing because they pushed us into that religion, you know, thing, and I feel like that we were never religious from the beginning. And I think that a lot of religions that we have today, even in African traditional religion, they were made out of survival, even if they don't want to admit that. It was made out of desperation of survival of the religion and not the spiritual practice. Because again, there wasn't religions back then. They didn't become religious until we got colonized, and our spiritual practice, were called evil by religion. And so I think to combat that and to survive that and show that we were equal to Christianity, we created our own religion, you know. And it wasn't that way at first. These were spiritual, they were based on a spiritual science and not religion. And what's the difference? For me, when I see people in the ATRs that are initiated, especially our hoodoos, and we communicate with a variety of spirits, okay? Because that's what we do in hoodoo. We do conjure, and we may work with our ancestors. Our ancestors may lead us to work with angels. They may lead us to work with some saints. Okay, that's just what we do over here in hoodoo. They may even ask you to work with some laws or some orishas. That happens. That absolutely happens. You'll be drawn to that. Again, we can work with those systems, but by way through the ancestors. And the way we work with them is totally different from the way someone the ATR would do it. Okay. The way we work with the Orisha in-laws would be totally different because we'll be coming from more of a service and a relationship aspect. Okay, we'll become to build a relationship with them, and for them, they can work directly with them because of their traditions and the way they got it set up. They interface with them different because the traditions they have around them. But from our perspective, we're going through uh again our ancestors, and we are forming a relationship with them. It's like more of a service and a relationship that we're having with them. It's totally different from the religion. So, but yeah, you're gonna work with them totally different again when you because you'll hear them they'll get upset too. Well, you haven't been initiated in there, Of course I have not, because you're in a religion and I have a spiritual practice, so it's not gonna look the same. That's just like me telling you your hoodoo ain't hoodoo because it don't look like my hoodoo. It's still hoodoo. Just because it doesn't look like my hoodoo don't mean it's not hoodoo. And I feel like the same thing kind of happens. The disconnect happens with people in a ATR versus the people that are hoodoos. With this is a spiritual system. It is not a religion. You might get over here in hoodoo and you might see a variety of altars in people's house. I would tell you this. You might see an altar with saints on it. You might go up in there and see an altar with nothing but angels on it. You might go up in that in a hoodoo house and see Lamadam in there. Okay? That's just how we get down. And again, hoodoo is a spiritual practice. What is the again? It's more of shamanic. It has so many shamanic elements in hoodoo. I would put it like that, and it reminds me a lot of Obeah as well when you look at hoodoo. And I heard somebody from Jamaica say that too about hoodoo. That was like it looks so much like Obeah. I'm like I know. And so when we start looking at it from again the African diaspora perspective and not the religious perspective, we can see the connections. But this we still got this thing with the ATRs. They want it done a certain way. Okay, they want you to do the ebos. They want you to do the sacrifices. That's the way they do it. Versus in hoodoo, you'll go a different route by the way of your ancestors, and we break this all down over there in our hoodoo community on Patreon to help you safely work whatever you're led to. Because we just got through breaking down the 7 African powers, how to set up a table, how to communicate with them. We just got through talking about Saint Expedite, um, how to break again, how to work with him, what he like on his table, what you can petition him for. Okay, and we usually do that with all the saints. Saint Cyprian too. We just talked about Saint Cyprian as well. So, and they're taking a different approach. Okay, they have these traditions and these sacrifices that they make to these deities. That's the way they have been doing it. It has been set up for them. But those of us that's taking a hoodoo route, we take another route. Not to mean that we're not, we can't have the same results as someone in a traditional religion. We can have some of the same results. And that I think again that makes a lot of the African religions very uncomfortable getting some of the results getting without practicing the traditions of their religion. And that at some point we're gonna have to have a talk about that. The hoodoos, us us and the ATRs, because hoodoo, like I say, is very much different. But what I've found is some of the ATRs think they can police hoodoo, and you cannot. You cannot police hoodoo. You're not the owner of the Orishas. You're not the owner of the Loas. You have a religion and tradition centered around these energies, forces, and powers. You do, and I don't disrespect them. But we have to remember too um, that we have access to these same energies by way through our ancestors, the same ancestors that you are using and you were able to access that religion you guys created. Same thing. We just didn't make a religion. We made a spiritual system. These are two different things. And so understanding it, again, we need to sit down and have a theological, um, spiritual, scientific discussion on it instead of pointing the fingers and again using some of these colonizing behaviors to try to police other people. And that's what I see go on the ATR. But at some point, we just gonna have to have a discussion, And then some people, they getting over there and they think initiate means I can tell other people what to do. No, it don't. It means that you can get somewhere and sit down over there and serve your deity. That's what that means. That means that you ought to perfect the customs in your religion. That's what you do that. Because over here in hoodoo, we're focused on trying to have a closer connection with our ancestors and perfect our ancestral practices. That's what we're doing over here. We're working on us. We're not going over there to the ATR trying to police y'all on what you do. So if you think initiation equals that, then you're in the religion for the wrong thing. Okay, so really, you know, and to me, I just rather not be in religion because again, to me, it seems like it's a colonized. You're mocking the colonizer trying to set up like them. Okay, and I think that, from my opinion, I think that's why it is experiencing so much fraudulent behaviors and people in the ATRs because of this colonized mindset you have about religion. Okay, nobody's doing any work, and they're initiating anybody. Okay, that's just that's not the same as closed. That's not the same as closed. Okay, closed over here in hoodoo means that you are not. We don't give. I'm gonna be very, very, very open. I'm gonna be frank. You probably ain't gonna like the way I said. We don't give a damn about your money. If you do not look like us, if you did not experience the suffering of the African diaspora, you absolutely cannot be in hoodoo. That's simple. We don't shuck and jive over here. We're absolutely adamant. Okay? There is no initiation in hoodoo. It is closed. You don't need no initiation. Okay? Your ancestors already paid the ultimate price, some of them with their lives. Okay, so we don't need no initiation over here. They already initiated you with it. A lot of them through their lives. We stand on their shoulders. That's sacrifice they already gave for us. Okay? Now initiation, I don't care how I look. If I got $1 million and I say I want to be initiated, they're gonna initiate me in there. They're gonna do the traditional sacrifices of their ancestors for somebody who don't look like them. And to me, that's a disrespect. We don't do that in hoodoo. If you ain't in our family, if we didn't pass this on to you, you don't have any African ancestry whatsoever, you can't be over here like that. It's closed. I've seen a live where you ask someone to leave the live because they weren't like us. You know, my thing with that, Sky High, I don't care if they get on the live, but what gets me is they get on the live and then they get over here and talking about they can be in hoodoo. They resonate with hoodoo and some calling them. No, that's not that. If you know you a pink person or a pale face person, that's not what's going on with you. Okay? This ain't what's resonate with you. That's a trauma response of you trying to uh again trying to come in and infiltrate our space. That some of your ancestors has already did. Okay? So that's not, they think they resonate or they see elements in hoodoo. They see folk magic in hoodoo, and it looks a lot like Wicca, and it looks a lot like some of the folk magic of their ancestors. It a lot like Celtic folk magic. It looks a lot like European folk magic, and they think, oh, this just like no, but it's not though. It's not that. You might see some of that in there, but that's not what it is. This is ancestral. We wouldn't do any of this without being led by our ancestors. I don't know how you're doing it. You can do it that way if that works for you, fine. But this is not that. And I think, they see kind of those elements and they're just like, oh, it's the same. No, it's not. We go a lot deeper. We have a different cosmology. We follow the cosmology and we follow the magic practices of our ancestors. It's just like when we get over here and we start looking at curios and looking at which we're gonna be talking about that a little later, personal belongings and things like that. Again, it gets different because again we're looking at African cosmology, and sometimes we come in contact with ancestral spirits like Haja the Conqueror, Marie Laveau, Aunt Caroline Dye, Bishop Mason. I can go on and on. We have too many um, African ancestry or indigenous ancestry for you to be coming over here that you won't be able to identify with. So it's not the same. We have different ancestors, and ours built on freedom and liberation and survival. Okay, so they are different, and so that's why I tell um, the pale face people, this is not the same. You got your own stuff; it works just fine. Go do that. Okay, it's just the thought of black people having their own power and magic that might be a little bit more advanced than yours that you're attracted to. That's how you're attracted to the power that we got. Okay, that's what it is. But you got your own stuff. Y'all got your own stuff. That's what that thing with Aleister Crowley and all that stuff was about. The New Age movement, that was for you. That movement with Wicca and all that was for you. That spiritualist movement was for you. Okay, y'all got your own stuff. Works just fine. We got our own stuff. Works just fine. Okay. So again, just stay on your side of the street because this is different. And we tell you this because again, it's not safe for you to be going and coming over here practicing hoodoo and you don't have any of those you don't meet any of those criteria. You don't meet any of that criteria. You just want to cover messing up and then you mess up and run up on some ancestors that tear you up. That tear you up, don't even want to look at you because I we got ancestors over here. Uh, I could just go and talk about my grandmother. She did not like pale face people, did not trust pale face people, always had something to say about pale face people. So my thing is you got over here and you start calling my grandma show up, she gonna be upset with you because she knows she ain't got no ancestors that don't look like her. She not gonna work with you. They're not gonna happen. Okay, so you got some ancestors like that. I got then I got another my other grandmother. I remember one day she was looking at my other cousins and they was lighter than me. And this is on my dad's side. She said, I don't know them two because them folks, them two right there look like they belong to pale face people. Them ain't my grandchildren. So I don't know. I said, no, 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 grandmother. They my cousins through this side. She was like, oh, okay. But she didn't want to claim them because they were too light skinned. Okay, we got ancestors like that. And so you don't want to be rolling up over here trying to do hoodoo. And then we got ancestors that because you guys committed so many atrocities against our ancestors, they would rather not deal with you or they gonna tear you up when you get your butt over here. So don't do it. This is why we tell you this. But some of you guys will try to force your way in there and say, "Oh, but I resonate. Oh, but I just no, 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 no. Stop it. You need to go talk to your ancestors and ask them why you feeling like that. Because they white, right? Your ancestors white, right? You need to go ask them that. Go ask them why you feeling like that before you jump over here. Because that's not that. And if you took a minute to ask your ancestors, your own biological ancestors, why you feeling like you should be doing hoodoo when you know that that's not what they practice. Matter of fact, they was unaliving people that practiced it. So I mean, you need to go back and just have a seat with that, okay? And stop trying to be in places that you know you're not supposed to be in. You're not supposed to be in hoodoo, especially if you don't have any no ancestors that had that experience. I have to be absolutely, open with you guys like that because I have so many jumping in there, and then you have a lot of them claiming to be doing hoodoo. What is it with that? I think we should change the word from hoodoo to something else at this point, because now they're trying to commercialize it, making it seem like it's just, and that's a thing too that I see. Um, when people look at hoodoo, they think it's just magic. No, it's not. It's an alignment. This is a way of life. We don't get over here and we don't. This is a way of life. This ain't just magic. This is about alignment. This is real root work over here. You get a chance to do real work on yourself, the root work, the cause, what's going on. Okay, so it's not just magic, burning candles and things like that. No, it's work. We read scripture, we get up in the morning, we align with spirits, we do our bathing, we do our cleansing, we get in alignment with these elements. We do our character work, we do our ancestors' work, we stay in alignment. It is work over here. This ain't a, I don't know what people think, but again, we don't commercialize it. And that's kind of what you're seeing. I've seen some pale face who I'm doing hoodoo. No. How come you can't be just be doing Wicca? How come you can't be doing just some European folk magic, some Celtic magic, some what is the other one? Some Switzerland magic. I don't know. England magic, Paris magic, London magic. I don't know. How come you can't just be doing it? Y'all got your own magic. It works. Y'all have invested with hundreds, maybe thousands of years in it. It works. Now I know a lot of it comes from our ancestors, and even the magic that you have, because even when we go through the some of these occult books that we review over there in our hoodoo community, we go through the occult books, and I can't read one occult book without them contributing the information they learned from ancient Egypt or uh ancient black women. But you've crafted it and watered it down for yourself so it works. Okay, so deal with that. Please don't come over here and hoodoo and think that's the same thing. It's just clothes. We don't care about your money. We ain't gonna you can't come over here now. You can go over there to an ATR. They'll probably help you because now they have been initiating some of them into the ATR, and now they're writing full books about the mysteries of your traditions over there in the ATR. That's what happens when you start initiating people. They're writing full descriptions of rituals they'll do and all of that about the uh, African religion, but you claim is you supposed to be initiated. Well, the way they revealing the information, that's not no longer gonna be so. Now you'll see books out there on hoodoo, but you don't get the full scoop and the full context. You only gonna get that over there on our platform. So when I do a book review with you on the book that you do have, it starts to make a lot of sense once I give you the context. I don't care what hoodoo book you got, you don't have the full context of it. It's not going to really work the way you want to until you get all the full context and we go through everything and you be like, then light bulbs will start going off in your head. You be like, oh, okay, that's what they talking about. That's what they meant. Oh, that's what that goes there. That it'll start making sense. But again, it's closed, so I don't expect everything to be in those books because Hoodoo is closed. So you're only gonna get fraction of the information. Versus again, they're initiating everybody in these African traditional religions, and these people are writing books on it. So I don't know how long it's gonna be that way. I hope that made sense. But do your own research, ask your ancestors what they think you should do when it comes to initiation or going into a religion. But I do have to tell you, it is a religion. So, it's going to function like a religion. You're going to have to do as you told with no questions, you know. And I respect the elders that respect the work, but I haven't seen a lot of that going on with the ATRs. So be careful with that. But if that's what floats your boat, then ask your ancestors, then do it. Okay. And so, us as hoodoo practitioners, when we're looking at the science of hoodoo, we look at the herbs and how they work. Is it a fire uh, herb that is aligned with the fire energy? What are we trying to do? Okay. So we do look at the herbs as well. We look at the roots. And you want to probably consider numbers too, because numbers are important. Some people work with numbers. They do these in threes, they do these in sevens, nines, 13s. Again, what number do you resonate with? Okay. A three is a very popular number in hoodoo, and seven, and learning why and when we should use these numbers. So again, we look at numbers, we look at colors as well. You know, when we're working with justice, maybe we want to work with uh, more of that dominant color like purple. Okay, because we want to command some, we want to dominate some, so we want to work with purple. We also look again at the planetary alignments. What is the best energies available at certain times? Again, this is a science. We break all this down for you. We just don't be out here just doing things randomly. We don't. It's the reason why our ancestors had that almanac. I'm gonna go back to that again. Okay. They can keep up with everything. They can keep up with the planetary alignment. They can keep up with the seasons. You even have some work. Do you get better results when you work around a certain season? I had some hoodoo practitioner said she don't do any work until the spring. She do no work all year long when it comes to like doing altar work. She might work with her ancestors, do things like that. But all her heavy work was during the spring, which is a great time. New beginnings, set new intentions, plant new seed. Okay. And then the planetary alignment seems to be more favorable during the springtime. Okay, but if you don't know these things, you'll be sporadically doing things. Again, hoodoo is always is about getting in an alignment and rhythmic with the cycles of life. That's what magic is about. You want to make sure that your magic is in rhythm and in the cycle of life. And how better way to do that is to look at the energies, the planetary alignments, and the season that you're working with. What energies that you're working with? Those things are contribute as well. And so sometimes when our ancestors did work, they would plan it out in a month ahead of time. Now I do know things that you need in an emergency and you can't really plan for. Our ancestors didn't let us stop them. They started working with spirits. They would work with saints. They would work with their ancestors. Okay? We didn't let it get in our way. This is why knowing how to work with spirits, knowing more about the angels and the energy, the planetary energies are being important because again, this is a science. And so when you start learning all these options and how you can get work done, you can take a better approach to your hoodoo. Does that make sense to you? You got more freedom from hoodoo. Have you practiced other religions? Yes, I was a Christian for a long time, Pentecostal and Baptist. All my life, I did not like religion. I do not like religion. I've done a lot of research into other African traditional religions. I do not like religion. Okay. All the gatekeeping, all, you know, only I can talk to God type of mentality. I'm just not feeling it. Okay. But if that's, like I said, if that's something that you want to do, you want to be guided, and you can find a way to do it safely and that's healthy, fine, do that. But be sure that you do your research, make sure you got a good support system, and then you understand that you're dealing with the religion. There's certain ways they do things, there's certain things you're going to have to do. And in the African traditional religion, you're going to continue to be paying for ebos and the guidance and things like that. That's a part of the religion. So making sure you keep that in mind. I don't think a lot of people know that, but you have to pay for all those rituals, for your divinations that they're going to be doing for you. A lot of that costs money. and depending on what kind of house you have, because depending on who your head is, they have different houses. You're gonna need godparents, so they have their own system kind of set up. So really look into that, and there takes some investment, economic investment, which I see nothing wrong with that if that's something you want to do and everything's lined up. But there's a economic investment you have to make in a ATR. Okay, see nothing wrong with if that's what you want to do. That's just not what I want to do. But make sure you do your research. Okay, Royal Goddess. Have not did an ATR, but yeah, I practice, yeah, Christianity, Baptist, and Pentecostal enough to know that that's not for me. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Let's see here. So we look at the planetary alignments. We look at some the way our ancestors passed down our practice orally through stories or just watching them. Because some of us can look. We start doing hoodoo, and we start putting it together, and we didn't know it was hoodoo. And you realize, "Ah, my family been doing hoodoo all along." You realize they were doing hoodoo all along. That you didn't really lose it. You were looking at it, but because it was so much a part of our culture, it was normalized, so we didn't look at it as hoodoo. That was just part of our Black culture. And so and they were so our ancestors were so smart. They just emerged. They said, "You know what? We're not gonna explain this to them. This is just gonna be part of their culture, and this is the way we do it, and this is what." They didn't really tell why they did it. This is just the way we did it. Okay? And so I could see a lot of that go on when I start going on my hoodoo journey and things start coming to surface. I was like, "That was hoodoo?" That was like, "Yeah, we're gonna tell you that, you know, we just let you know this is the way we do it over here." And so those are the ways that we do things. They say we ain't got no culture. Yes, we do. Yes, Black Americans do. We do have culture. We have a certain way that we do things that our ancestors passed on to us. You can call them traditions if you want to. Okay. So, but we do have that immersed if when you start looking at things. Okay. So we are refining it now. Hoodoo can be refined. It is open to refinement now as we learn more about the culture. We learn about the science of hoodoo. Okay, because now we can, especially me, I can openly teach more about the science than vaguely telling you about magic or workings. That does you no good if I do not explain the science to you and the things that we're looking at to help us perfect our hoodoo. Okay, so we're going to be looking at a variety of things. We look at a variety of things over there. Okay, we look at necromancy, we look at high magic, we look at low magic. We look at ceremony magic. And I don't know what's going to work for you. You might love to do things elaborate. Some people like elaborate altars. They like to do a whole big ceremony, and I love that for you. I like ceremony too sometimes if it calls for that. Or what I'm doing calls for that. Some people like to do ceremonial magic. They like to do it big. Some people just like doing folk magic. Like to keep it simple. You know, just work with their ancestors and focus on the work. They don't want to go for a big old formal ritual. They just want to keep it simple. That's fine too. Still gets results. So again, you get to define how you want that magic to look. And so we covered a variety of it because hoodoo has um is so rich with a few elements in it. So it's a good idea to look at all this so we can get a full understanding of hoodoo. Okay. And we definitely look at a lot of necromancy because what is ancestral veneration? It is necromancy. Who are we talking to? Dead people. Okay. People that's not with us any longer. And what is necromancy? Necromancy is that. So we need to know about it. We need to know about the science of it, the technology of it. Okay. And we work with our ancestors over here. We do a lot of, for a lack of a better term, we do a lot of necromancy over here. We do a lot of talking to ancestors over here. That's what we do. Because we are spirits, we understand spirits. We understand the spirits of the plants. We understand the spirits of the trees. We understand the spirits of the earth. Again, this is again the indigenous knowledge that and elements that's in hoodoo, and we go a lot deeper in that. Like I said, have a great lecture where we talk about working with our ancestors and working with the gungun, the Baluka. You can call them that too, the Baluka, the most elevated ancestors, the great saints. We talk about that over there. Uh, and then we talk about too the indigenous magical elements of hoodoo and how our spiritual systems have been again making great influences all over the world. You know, especially when you look how old our magic is. No one on this planet, and I'm just gonna keep it real with you, especially when we go look at the occult and we look at how these people are forming their spiritual system. No one in the world I know has a spiritual system that has not been impacted by our metaphysical technology. No one. I can't see it. Okay? They have some of our magic has touched it some type of way, especially the modern magic. Okay? They were influenced by the comedic sciences. And again, as we go into the comedic sciences and we know that the magician the Egyptians, they just didn't focus on ceremonial magic. They also had their form of folk magic. And we start looking at Egyptian folk magic that the common people practice. It looked just like hoodoo. And when we start looking at the baths and looking at the psalms and things like that and herbs and stuff, the spiritual baths, we see a lot of those elements come from Kemet. Okay. Some of them was the originator of some of the hoodoo technology that we do have, even the one that you see in the Bible. Okay, these people say these Abrahamic religions keep saying they trying to get away from Egypt, but yet you are still using their magic to form your own religion. You're still using some of their occult practices to form your religion. Okay, y'all still using it. You don't have anything original. So again, if you're saying you're trying to get away from these heathen people, you know they're so detestable. Why do you keep practicing their magic? Why do you keep using their occult sciences, their metaphysical sciences? Matter of fact, why do you keep marrying some of the high priestess that belong to some of these you know spiritual practices? Because they kept doing it. So again, so we take a look at it from that perspective, and I think when we take a look at it from that perspective, we can understand hoodoo a lot better in this concept. Because again, too, it is not Christian. I don't care what people are saying with this. It is not Christian. It is ancestral science. It is a spiritual science. Okay, and if your hoodoo practitioner or your mentor, they're having problems breaking this down for you, I will be concerned if they can't break this down to a science to you, explain it to you. Because it is. If you do the work, you do X, Y, you get Z. That's simple. If you do X, Y, you get Z. Can you always predict the outcome? No. But you do know you're gonna get some type of results. You can't figure out how it's gonna happen, how you want it to happen. You just know it's gonna happen. If you do X, Y, you get Z. That's simple. Okay, it's not complicated at all. So doing a lot of work, workings and stuff, it does you no good to do all the workings and then you don't have a relationship with your ancestors because again, this is ancestral power. That's the source of power in hoodoo. Okay. And I know you think of technology as like a computer or a machine. No, we're talking about at the application of knowledge, applying it and working. This is scientific. This is why I tell you when you're working at your altar, you're doing some work, record your divination, record the conversation you had with your ancestors. Because when you go back, you start to see how uh, your work begins to progress and get better and better, and what works and what doesn't work. Okay, because you're perfecting the ancestral magic. If you use the application, you're going to get results. Okay. So again, this technology it started off with herbalism. It started off with us curing using herbs to cure ourselves. We talked to the herbs. We know that there were spirits in the herbs, and you see this when shamans did any healing. They not only healed you with the herbs, but they also did a whole ceremony during the healing session. Okay, that's again, that's part of hoodoo as well. We look at the herbalism, we look at the spirit of these energies in these herbs and how they heal us, and we pray that these spirits help our health. We pray that God has put enough spirit in the herbs to help us with our health. Okay. Same thing, kind of same relationship we had with the herbs and with the land. We knew that everything was alive. And in fact, when you go to looking at plants and you go to looking at stones and things like this, and I tell people this, and it probably blows their mind, but these are really your oldest ancestors. Okay, they were here. These living organisms were here before our ancestors here. They were the first life, and in fact, we needed these herbs and a lot of these plants to sustain a third dimensional body here. Okay, so when we start connecting with the land, we start connecting with the herbs. Again, you thinking in terms of people when you think of ancestors. But again, your first ancestors will be your brother tree, your brother grass. Okay. So these are the things that help sustain your third dimensional body. So again, kind of looking at it from a different perspective too. And I always recommend for people to start going out, connecting with the land, connecting with the ancestors on that land, making healthy connection with healthy ancestors. It's not just family, and you'll learn that too over there. I'm not. No, we're talking about ancestors. We get a chance to choose how those ancestors support us and what ancestors we want to work with. We don't just work with family. We understand ancestors over there. That's broken down all the way down for you. I know people have you thinking, oh, it's just family. No, it's absolutely not. It's not just family. Okay. It's a very wide scope, especially when you start looking among the African diaspora, looking at your ancestors, looking at your cosmology. It goes a lot deeper with you. And we also look at too, looking at mojo bags. What powers mojo bags? How our ancestors look at making talismans and charms like that and the energy they put in them. So that's very interesting. We look at all the different ways that our ancestors tapped into their magic to make charms, talismans, and mojo bags. Okay, so we break that all the way down. I know a lot of people think, oh, we just make a mojo bag, we post some stuff in there, and it's just made. No, no, it's thought put it in there. What day you want to make the mojo bag? What's your intentions with the mojo bag? Are you gonna be just working with your ancestors to make the mojo bag? Are you gonna be working with an angel to make the mojo bag? Are you gonna be working with the saints to work the mojo bag? How your ancestors want you to empower this mojo bag? What would it consist of? Thought being put in. We just don't throw things together. What time and day do you need to make the mojo bag? Do you need to fast and do some prayer work while making the mojo bag? Okay, we put thought into it, people. Hey, Daisha, Costa Bear, always do your best. Hello, hello. So we put thought into this. We just don't be doing things over here. And again, I know you've probably not heard anyone come here and break it down all the way like this. And I think it's important breaking it down like this because some of the things that are being spoken is too vague. And so it's easy to get over there and on somebody's platform and thinking that you're doing authentic you understanding the spiritual science behind hoodoo, and they're just showing you work. It did. I love the honesty. Yeah, it was. Even with some Christians, they took it from hoodoo. Exactly, royal goddess. So again, they're not, you get over there and they just showing you a whole bunch of spells and a whole bunch of psalms, and no. Okay. You got so much help and so much support over here. That's just limiting your support. I, you know, we give you a variety of ways to get your work done. Okay? And you need to know that you can go beyond the Psalms. Again, you can go, this is necromancy over here. Okay? We work with spirits over here. We do conjure over here. We work with our ancestors. We work with our ancestors over here. Okay? We just put some thought into it. Ain't no sense in doing no work and you ain't got no spiritual support. Okay. So we break that all the way down over here. And I'm not gonna blame you. Gonna tell me, well, Miss Penny, I did this psalm on this day, and and it didn't work. I'm like, okay, so let's talk to your ancestors. Can you work as your ancestors? Can you take another route? You have this option to work with this spirit or this spirit. Ask your ancestors it's okay for you to do that, and then use the psalms in your invocation and things like that. I'm gonna give you another route. Did you do the bath? Because I'm gonna ask you how did you did the bath. Talk to the ancestors. You did this. You did that. Okay. Yes, this ancestors can. Let's do this. Let's try to work with this saint. Let's try to work with this spirit. Okay. We did some research, and they're really good at working with you on these type of tasks. And one thing too, especially when you're working with angels, I tell people this. They might have a different offering for you, especially with angels. They might tell you, "Hey, I'm gonna work with you, but you got to tell everybody that I work with people successfully and what they have to do to work with me." You have angels that do that because they want to work with other people. Believe me, they be wanting to work with you. Okay, and they have a different agenda when they ask for an offering or they require something for you from you. They'll say, "Hey, get the word out about me on this, so I can work with more people." Because they be wanting that too. They are ready to work with you, but because we don't mouth it, we don't conjure it, we don't speak it. They're limited to how they can help you. But when you start conjuring, you start speaking it, start invoking it, start petition, then they can help you. And angels are one of the easiest one to work with, but you got to totally surrender the outcome. You have no control of the outcome. They're gonna do the thing for your highest good. Okay, but they get the results. And I always recommend people to work with angels because again, the energy that they bring in brings in a higher frequency. So your thoughts and your emotions, uh, they operate on that frequency. Again, they are refining your energy when you work with angels. And that's one of the main things I kind of recommend over there, kind of get you jumped off and get started with that. And they're not hard to work with. And you have a variety that you can choose with. It's not one size fit all when it comes to working with any energies. You might have somebody who can work. better with Gabriel than they can Michael. Okay. You might have some people that can work with Metatron better than they can work with Michael, or Saldaphon better than they can work with Michael. So again, and it's just like that. Each angel has their own signature energy that you might resonate with. Okay. And so we talk about that a lot over there. And again, if you get in the ritual membership, if you get the ritual membership, that's what we start you off with. But if you're not ready for ritual, you're not really ready for hoodoo, you don't know what you're doing, you don't go for the occult knowledge member, because you'll just be learning and reading. You won't get the lectures, you won't get the videos, you'll just get some books and articles on learning more about hoodoo. Now, if you're ready for the ritual, you're ready to really step up your hoodoo and really get grounded in the ancestors, get the ritual or conjure tier. Get that. I recommend you get the ritual, because the conjure is really for the most advanced, the ones who's already have an ancestors altar. They already been, know about hoodoo, but now they're ready to really focus on working with other spirits. And that's what conjure, that's what we do in conjure. And we have a meeting that's coming up next week with the ritual and conjure tier. We'll be meeting. um I'll be meeting with each group, the ritual member and the conjure tier. And then we have a workshop that's coming up on the 17th. We're going into our uh second series of tarot workshop. We're going to be talking about the courtship cards, which is the queens, the kings, the knights, and the pages. So we're going to be breaking it all the way down there. This will be our second workshop, and the ritual and conjure tier, both of the members will be in there. The ritual and the conjure members will be in there when we learn the tarot, because it's important that we learn divination. We have to have a divination when we're working with ancestors. We just have to have it. That's a big part of it too, is divination. We don't do anything without divination. We don't we communicate. That is our telephone, our cell phone. When we talk to spirit is our divination. Whether you're using tarot cards, a pendulum, dials and rods, I don't know, throwing bones, dice, I don't know what you're using, but we're going over tarot. That's what I know about. But you need a divination if you're going to be practicing hoodoo, because we need to be asking questions and talking to spirit. So we're definitely going over that. And when you're in the ritual and conjure tier, you get that automatically, the workshop. Hopefully we can finish that workshop up this month, and then next month we're going into shadow work workshops. Again, we're going to give you, I'm giving you what you need, a good foundation in there, giving you free workshops that's going to help your foundation in hoodoo. Okay. Everything. Do you know anything about throwing bones? I have not thrown bones before. I do know this: when you're doing casting lots and throwing bones like that, there is a sort of a scientific diagram you should follow to help you interpret that. Even when you're throwing cowrie shells, there's a diagram that shows you where different things, where they lay or whatever, that help you be able to interpret your divination. So I do know there needs to be some type of scientific diagram to help you interpret your throwing bones or your cowrie shells. I've never done that. I've always worked with tarot cards. I've did dowsing rods, and I've done the pendulum. You can. Some people even do it with their candle. They'll do a yes or no with their candle. They'll look at the flicker and the up and down of the flame. Some people do it that way. You know, uh, and I think too, we're gonna go, that's on down the road when we're really gonna be start working with spirits on the astral level, um, in the ways our ancestors used it for scrying. We're gonna look more into scrying. And we talked a little bit about scrying when we talked about um working with angels, because we looked at Edward Kelly and John D. I have to go back to them because again, these are the ones who created this system to work with angels. And I would say Edward Kelly did much of the work. John D didn't do anything. I don't know why he gets credit with that. You would think Edward Kelly would get the credit because he's the one who was doing the scrying and talking to different spirits. But we kind of look at their look at the spiritual system and the rituals for communicating with angels when we look at John D and Edward Kelly. Because again, we're going to be working with angels. We work with that system because that system is a part of hoodoo as well. Okay. We work with, work with some of the characters in the Bible, such as, again, looking at them from an anthropomorphic beings, because that's what High John the Conqueror is. Okay. He was born out of the imagination and made real by our ancestors. And so we look at these anthropomorphic beings as well and learn from them. I hope that made sense. Yeah. So again, if that's and some people they're just good at throwing bones to sky high. Um, that's their thing. They like throwing bones. Some people are natural at it. They like casting cowrie shells. Some people do palm readings. Everybody's talents is going to be different. Cause I can't say one size fit all. Like you have to learn the tarot. I would say resonate with whatever your ancestors have you resonate with, use those. If that's something that you want to learn about throwing bones, I think we got a book in there. We got a book in there called Sticks and Stones or something like that. And she talks about throwing bones and things like that. I have to look at another divination book, see if we have one about that. But if that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely be reading those books on divination. But over there, we have a lot of books, a few books. I think it's one on divination, and we have two or three on the tarot. So I've posted those books up there on Patreon because you get to learn uh divination, especially with cards from a different perspective. I think I've even posted the one up there of using playing cards for divination. That's not my thing. Some people they say that's the I've been told that's the old hoodoo way of doing divination too, is through playing cards. So if that's something that you're interested in, we have resources over there as well for that. But again, you get out whatever you put in here, beloved. Okay? So nobody hoodoo is a way of life. It's a little daily study at a time. Um, you know, again, your mind changes too. You probably say, "Well, Miss Penny, it's a lot of stuff over there." Yeah, it is because we have a lot of stuff to unlearn, and we have to reprogram ourselves and reprogramming ourselves with a spiritual mind and getting so much out of this 3D mind. Okay, so we have to re-educate ourselves. And transforming the mind means re-educating the mind. And so that's what's going on over there. So if you're not doing the reading, you're not doing the listening, how much are you transforming? How much are you absorbing? Because this is how you absorb the information too. And nobody said you have to remember all of it. One thing I have learned about when you start absorbing information, you'll just start remembering. I'm surprised as how many things I remember when I get to talking to people. I'm like, oh my God, I actually absorbed that. I read that and absorbed it. And sometimes it happens unconsciously, just like some of the things that we have to deprogram and get out of our mind. um Again, we learned that unconsciously. And so the more we observe and we're in the hoodoo environment and learn, we begin to unconsciously absorbing the information. That's why I say you don't have to memorize it, because once you start reading it, and some of the things that we read is gonna uh you're gonna see it being repeated in some of the materials and resources, you're going to automatically start getting it. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, I read that right here. Oh, yeah, she said that right there. So, again, you're absorbing the information unconsciously. You're not really having to remember. Now you're starting to live hoodoo. You're starting to retain hoodoo. because now you're in the environment and now you're able to absorb it. So yeah, we have a lot of information over there because we have a lot to unlearn. Okay. And then you get out of this, your spiritual science and your spiritual practice, whatever you get, whatever you put in is what you get out. See, we got more time than money. See, then we don't just throw money in it. We throw our time into it. We throw our mind and our attentions into uh growing in our hoodoo. And that's what you're gonna have to do. Nobody's just gonna hand it to you. And spirit honors that. See, we don't got no initiation here because these spirits initiation, they watching you, they seeing you learn. They helping you. In a lot of ways, these spirits help you is with helping you be able to shift your mind energetically on a higher frequency. And that's what happens when we learn hoodoo, start learning these things. We start looking at things differently. Again, the elevation begins to happen. I hope this makes sense to you. Okay. And by somebody just giving you and showing you stuff, you're not really doing the work. And hoodoo is a way of life. This ain't like you put on a shelf and come pick it up tomorrow. No, it's a certain way you live. You got to be in alignment. You know, I'm just telling you the way our ancestors set it up. And you'll start seeing it too. Once you start doing the shadow work, you'll start seeing a lot of the work that you thought you needed to do. You don't even have to do no more because now you're in alignment. You ain't got none of that issue no more because now you're in alignment. You can go on, go work on something else because you did all the heavy lifting when you start doing the ancestors work, this aka shadow work, because you got in alignment with your ancestors. See, if something is not working, sometimes depending on what you got going on, it might be going on because you're not in alignment. And I find that that's something, once you get in alignment, you'll see how you start having these breakthroughs that you couldn't see at first because your mind changes, your energy changes. Okay. And you're approaching things differently now. You're working on your character work. You're making an effort to get in universal alignment. So when you do go to your altar, you are getting results. Your words become power now. You can think things into existence. And we do want it like that. Okay? We want it like that so you can see your magic and see what happens when you're in energetic alignment. It makes it that much more easier to do your work. Okay? Does anybody have any questions for me when it comes to hoodoo? And we've covered a lot here. And we still got, some very exciting lectures that's coming out and resources coming out about Egyptian magic, about Bantu magic when it comes to indigenous knowledge, because we're going deeper with indigenous knowledge. And we're going to go even deeper when it comes to the way our ancestors uh, use certain things in their magic. And that's when it kind of goes closed there. How does hoodoo align with people from LGBT community, or is alignment with that? It's we don't I don't there's nothing wrong with LGBTQ. Nothing. We don't have anything. We're not religious. Hoodoo is not religious. Hoodoo is out about liberation and freedom. So LGBT community will find freedom and liberation in hoodoo. We don't judge like that. This is not a religion. Okay? We want them to be free over here in hoodoo. Be in alignment with their ancestors. Okay? And the thing about too, I can go into looking at the genders. Again, it's not more about sexuality. We're talking about the way energy is manifested in people. Okay? That energy you have, some have the energy, aka masculine energy that shows up in people, and that's the way they express themselves. We're not looking at the sex here. Let's just get that out of our mind. We're not looking at that. We're not looking at the gender here. We're looking at how uh, the avatar expresses energy, whether it's masculine or feminine, for a lack of a better term. We're looking at the dualities of energies, how they express themselves here. So we're not worried about that. Indigenous cultures never did worry about the LGBTQ thing. That's a colonial religious thing. We didn't look down. We didn't judge people like that based on their preference. We just didn't do that. That's just another misconception that came along with religion. That came on over with the colonial mindset. But hoodoo welcomes any African traditional practice as well. They welcome the LGBTQ community in Ifa, in voodoo. Yeah. So we understand that. You even have um let me put you on the charger, TikTok. We even have some men, is it charging? I'm not sure. There we go. We even have some men that can embody the energy of Oshun. Okay, so that's you know again, it's not a problem. We don't look at it that way. This not religion, and I would say the Abrahamic religion. Some of these Abrahamic religions, they shun that, but when you go to the ATR, more of the indigenous spiritual practices, we're not finicky like that when it comes to the LGBTQ community. Okay, I hope that answered your question. We don't even judge on that. That is not even a problem. We looking at the energy in the person. That's it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for me? Now, if you're looking to book a reading with me, you can DM me here on TikTok. If you're want an astrological chart reading, just DM me your email and I will get you out an invoice. Um, let me know if you want a tarot reading or if you just want a hoodoo blueprint reading, which I look at your astrological chart. You give me your day, time, and place of birth and I will give you the most recent reading based on what's going on now. Okay. And you can get started on doing some work. Because again, I'm not giving you this chart for no reason. I'm doing this chart for you so you can perfect your hoodoo and you'll know exactly where you need to be doing some work with your ancestors and stuff, and it gives you, hi, how you doing, Dimples? Hello, beloved. How you doing, beloved? Thank you for being here, beloved. Good to see you in the live stream. But again, I'm giving you this because again, when you get your astrological chart like that, you getting a root to everything. You taking the guessing out of it. You know exactly what you need to do based on the energies that's available to you. You know whether you need to do some ancestors work and do that shadow work. Or it's time for you to tap into your talent mojo bag and start again expressing these talents that you come here with. So you're gonna get all that when you get the astrological chart. You get the chance to see where your talents in, where you need to be focused on. Because honey, if you're wondering where your talents is, when I get done with you and give you that hoodoo thing, you're gonna know exactly what your talents is, what you should be doing, what you should be focused on, what your ancestors got you focused on, and what type of healing work and thing you should be focused on. Okay? You're gonna know exactly what to do. You're gonna be put the wonder out of take the wonder out of everything. You know exactly what you need to be doing to do your work. And that's how we're gonna do it. That's how I do it over there. And that's a precious thing to have if you don't know where to start from. At least you got a starting place and you know based on your astrological chart, your birth date, your time, your place of birth. Thank you, Dimples, beloved. You know exactly where you should be. That's what your astrological chart is there for. Okay, you are a star. You came here with the mission, and the only way you're going to know that is to look at your astrological sign, see where all your placements are, where your north node, south node, where everything is in your chart, and then seeing, okay, well, how did this relates to hoodoo? How can this level me up? And that's where I come in at. I bring in those hoodoo elements and kind of guide you to where you can be using it. Okay. We're gonna take the wonder out of this. So if that's something that you're interested in, Again, you can DM me with your email address. And again, I'm gonna need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. Okay, that's what I'm gonna need when I'm doing this. This battery's about to die. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna need that. Did anybody have any questions for me? Any more questions about hoodoo? And we're getting deeper over there on Patreon, you know, and I try to keep you updated. So if you were to get a member, if you become a member, you're not lost because we got some things going on. We're only going deeper, especially when we get in the shadow work. It's gonna go a lot deeper come next month. Okay, we're gonna go deeper because again, we want to get in there and get what we come here to get. And I want to make sure that you're getting the results and that you comprehend the spiritual technology of hoodoo. So you're going to have my attention. You're going to get my time. Um, Real quality resources over there. Uh, Quality way I bring myself to you and give you my time and my experience that I know and I share with you. Not very expensive at all. Okay. And I know some of you probably belong to some hoodoo groups and they had you paying 80 and $90 a month or so and just giving you a whole bunch of spells and psalms. Not giving you a lot of context, not giving you a lot of resources when it comes to setting up an altar, how to work with spirit, what they like, what should you be putting on your altar, how to write a petition, different ways to write a petition, how to work with, we were talking about paper magic. Some people, especially when you dealing with those air signs and earth signs too, you probably want to be working with some paper with some petitions. Again, that's power in petitions as well. How to, you know, work with that petition based on your sign, your element, what your ancestors are guiding you to do. Again, all these things are important and we cover we cover so many things. So we don't just stay on one thing. We learn the full scope of hoodoo and what it consists of as a science. And when you hear me talk about hoodoo, I'm going to talk about it that way. We just talked about, and we're in that, especially for, I think this is for the conjure, because we're the conjure. We're going a lot deeper, and so I just had to talk about um, demonology. Why was I talking about demonology? Why am I talking about? Because again, by looking at these books, we have to go back and look at how they have some of our ancestors' spiritual practices listed. Yeah. And so, are they evil? Absolutely not. But this is how they have listed a lot of indigenous deities. They have listed them under demonology. And so when we have people going in discussing these topics, they're telling us, hey, these entities are not evil, they are not demons. They have been categorized like this by the church. And so to find out more about some of these deities, we have to look under that. Okay? You have to look under that. And I just did a whole big spiel. I think we did one on demonology and lore, devil lore. And I had to explain it, break that down because they got issue. Papa Legba, they got him listed as a devil, as a demon. And we know that's not true. We know that's not true. Okay. And so again, I have to tear away a lot of the the colonization that's been done there, all the fear, that is surrounded by our spiritual practices. Because there's a lot of fear surrounded by that. And so I go in we talk about these things so you can see it for yourself, so you can understand it and take the fear out of it. And to understand to how the colonial people with these colonial mindsets, how they seen things, how they saw our spiritual practice, and you need to see it like that. If they saying our practice look like it look demonic to them, We need to see that. Okay, why was it demonic to them? Because you can't do anything with it, because you can't tell it what to do. Because these are things we need to know. Now we know why they're calling it demonic, because you couldn't do nothing with it. It wouldn't work for you. Okay, and so now we take the fear out of it. We know why they're saying that, because they couldn't do nothing with it. Okay, you couldn't tell it what to do. You had no ancestral connections with it. So again, when we understand these things, we take the fear out of it, and it would do Christians good too. You know, to read different things and stop believing all the hype. You actually believe somebody gonna get something to you. You actually believe they're gonna give you a spiritual system that's gonna work. The same people that enslave you, you actually believe that? You actually believe they're gonna put you in contact with real power after again, let's just think about this. And everything that's got power to it, they're gonna say it's bad. Because you know why? Because it gets them in line. Anything that ain't got no power to it, it's of God. Oh my gosh, they scared to read the outside of the Bible. There is. I just joined your Patreon this week and I am learning a lot. Hey, Deborah Braswell. I just ordered the ancestral medicine book that you recommended. I am ready to do the work. Thank you. You're so welcome, Deborah Braswell. Did you get the free ebook? I think we got a free ebook over there too. Didn't I? I think I had that book. I gave y'all that free ebook, the ancestral medicine free ebook. But if you anything like me, you got to have your hands on some books. I got the ebooks, a lot of ebooks because I couldn't bring a lot of books on my travel, so I have a lot of ebooks. So you get a lot of ebooks over there too. I hope you was able to download the ebook. If not, let me know, and I'll get that ebook to you. If you wasn't able to open the ebook, let me know, Deborah. But again, we break that all down. And like she said, that book, Ancestral Medicine, that book is fire. I mean, oh my gosh, like if you want to really learn to work well with your ancestors, that is a good reference book. Okay, let me know if you can't find it because it should be a link there. And some people miss it because it's a hyperlink. It's going to be a hyperlink. So click on the if you see the ancestral medicine word is in a hyperlink, it might have an underline up on it, it might be in blue. Click on it. It should open up the book. If not, then let me know. Okay. But again, yeah. So again, we have to look into demonology because they have, they have put some of the orishas under the demonology or goetic spirits. They have done this, and then you're looking at somebody doing this who doesn't want the common people to have access to this power, especially the people that they're trying to enslave or oppress. So they're gonna hurry up and label it as something evil, and it's not. It's something evil to them because it gets them in line when they doing stuff they ain't got no business doing. And you got to remember, they are not going to give you a power. Ain't nowhere in the world somebody gonna give you something that got real spiritual power and they trying to oppress you. You actually believe they gonna do that? That's why they try to keep that Jesus message and all that watered down. That's why our ancestors said, y'all playing with this. Okay? Okay, you sure right. We're gonna use this Bible. We're gonna use your religion better than you and use it on you. Because you don't know what you're doing. You around here playing. You are playing. You got you a make believe religion and you ain't got no power in it, but we got something for you. We finna hoodoo this thing. And that's what we did. We gave power to a religion that didn't have no power to it until it got in our hands. When it got in our hands, we gave Christianity power through our ancestors. I'm just telling you what it is. These people ain't gonna give you nothing. They got power in it. You're gonna have to put some power in it. And that's what our ancestors did. And that is what, you know, that's what we do over there in our community. We put the power back in your hands and help you understand the Bible from, again, ancestral perspective and not the colonial perspective. Because if you understand it from there, everything, you ain't gonna have no power. You ain't gonna have no power. Okay? You ain't gonna have no power. If you do it things like that from their perspective, uh you, you're gonna be lacking in some power. Okay. If you want to understand the Bible from the perspective of your ancestors and you wanted to have a real power and be real, get some real results, understanding it from the hoodoo perspective is going to give you back your personal power. Okay. So they were playing with that. They were playing with that at first. They didn't want to, and so we gave it the power that it deserved. And so we go in and we look at Jewish mysticism. We look at all these elements, and we look at the science of hoodoo and how it functions. Okay. Yep. Dimple's right. She said they scared to read outside the Bible. They don't want to go outside the Bible. It's so fear based, and a lot of the fear is a lot of the things that they create in their mind because they don't take time to read things. I mean, anything that's just like the other day on my way back from Malaysia, and we were riding down the street, and they had this beautiful, and I'll probably post it here later, post their altar here later. I just seen a beautiful expression of them cleaning the altar up here in Thailand. But we were passing a place, and they had this beautiful altar display on there, and they had their Thailand deities kind of around the altar. And as we were riding by, this lady bowed and she said this prayer. I said, "What a beautiful thing," And I looked at it, I think it was like a dragon deity. Uh, and I said to myself, I said, over there in America, I bet our Christians over here be calling these people evil, but these are the gods of their ancestors, and they still honor them. Who are we to call their ancestral system evil when it's been sustaining them for generations and thousands of years? But in Christianity would see their religion and their ancestral altars as evil and demonic without even knowing the history and their spiritual system. You would do that just so they can be with this Jesus to a man that man didn't tell you to worship him. Y'all bound down to men and stuff. Some of you, but because it's not Christian, it's just a narrow thing. I mean, this guy got to be put in box. He got to be limited. He got to be restricted. He can't. It's just no. He's just narrow. And then I don't know how wise that God is if he thinks that way. He has to be put in the box. He got to be put in the building. He got to be put in the book. You know what kind of God is that? Now there's some good stuff in that book, but again, there you putting too many limitations on something that's infinite. You putting limitations on something. It's just that made no sense to me that you put limitations on something that's infinite, and that's what they do. You said God can do all things, anything He want to do. Well, why don't you let Him do it? Why you keep putting Him in limits? Why you say He ain't gonna do this? He ain't gonna do this. He ain't gonna bless that. He ain't gonna bless these people because they not Christians, and He ain't gonna do that. And even this Jesus wasn't a Christian. This Jesus wasn't a Christian. You know, again, I think sometimes religion make people crazy. It make people crazy. You have to ignore common sense You have to ignore all of this just to be a patriotic to this religion. When you shouldn't be religious at all, you should just be doing what Jesus do. Stop talking about that man and do what that man do. Stop talking about what he didn't like and all this like this, because more than likely, if he looked at a lot of us, he probably wouldn't like us, you know. But if you're ready to dive deeper into hoodoo and you're ready to understand it from a spiritual science perspective, please join us over there at Spiritual Roots Hoodoo Community on Patreon. If you're wanting a regular tarot reading, you can email me, DM me. I'll get you out an invoice. If you want that good old hoodoo bag, that root work, honey, that astrological chart, email me and I'll get you out an invoice. I think those are $10 um, for the astrological reading, and then a regular reading from me is $30. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit me up. If you just want to get in our community, again, I recommend if you're ready to do hoodoo, if you're ready to get on in now, get in the ritual tier. Okay. If you are refined and say, I know my rituals, I do my rituals, I got a relationship with my ancestors, I know what I'm doing. I want to do some more stuff. Get over there and conjure. Because again, if you're ready for that, you ready to start working, setting up tables and working with other spirits. And we definitely talk about that. Okay. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for coming in the live stream. If you have any questions about hoodoo, want to learn more about hoodoo, get over there to Patreon, get in our ritual tier, or just DM me. Okay. And hopefully I can come back here tomorrow and we can chat some more and you can save your questions then. And I'll answer your questions then. And we'll talk about more the science of hoodoo. And I can break this down and go into depth. Um, I don't, I don't just stay surface level with things. I'm just not going to talk about psalms and candle work and that. I'm going to tell you about the different sciences that's in hoodoo and break it all down for you. It's no good to you if I'm being vague with it. So being detailed as possible helps you understand the elements in hoodoo. And of course, you learn way more if you get in our hoodoo group because remember, hoodoo is closed. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. Light, love, namaste. Ashe, loved one. Bye, YouTube family. Thank